I think people are born with the right to exist. I think people are born with the right to practice whatever religion, faith, or values that are their own, as long as it doesn't mess with anyone else. I think those are rights that you're born with, and I think everything else is earned after that.
She has a full-time job at a hotel, and I have a full-time job as tiling. Yeah. And we both vote.
I feel there definitely is still lots of people that are against it, but here in Colorado at least, there's so many patients every day getting their medical marijuana cards, so many patients turning away from prescription pills and whatnot. It's kind of a growing surge. Activism's huge.
Do you think that legalizing marijuana would help the economy in any way?
I'm working right now.
Being a little elf though, yeah, I come in whenever I have free time. I trim up their buds so that we get all the big leaves off, and then they dry them for a couple days and then they sell them to the patients that want it.
The medical marijuana industry is creating tons of jobs if they allow it to.
You can fail or make it. That's what America does for you.
The generation between the baby boomers and Generation X that actually see the whole picture.
A lot of the generation that's kind of in charge right now, they were a part of the whole, weed is this awful, terrible drug that's gonna make you crazy and make you kill your whole family if you smoke it.
If I tried to talk to my grandmother about this, she'd say, no, that's what the cows eat. You don't go and smoke what the cows eat.
Some of the patients that come in here, they're in their 50s and 60s and 70s, and they say, we've been waiting so long for this day when we could go into a store and buy marijuana. They can't believe it. So I have a gut feeling that when I'm 65 or so, I'll be saying the same thing to the next generation, and I'll be saying, I can't believe it. It's legal all over America. This is unbelievable. I've been waiting my whole life.
Gun lovers, those of us who enjoy carrying and using guns, should support those who want to use marijuana or any other plant, simply because all of our rights spring from the same source, and the abrogation of anyone's rights abrogates all of them.
I believe that when the cartridge box is no longer available, the ballot box has very little meaning.
And now, the Neema News with Neema Vedadi.
Warning: graphic audio content. If you have small children and wish to shield them from reality, please send them out of the room now.
We do apologize, but we are now interrupting your regularly scheduled broadcast for breaking news. Just hours ago, 6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm near Yellowstone National Park in the tiny town of Closed for Winter, Montana. It is not yet clear if the dope farmer had trained the bears or if the animals simply had good taste. Here's an audio clip of the last radio transmission from the raiding party, led by Sergeant Dan Banning.
Nice bear. Stand back. We're from the government. We're here to help you. It's okay. It's okay, man. Stand back. Nice bear. Stand back. Hey!
Chilling. And in other news today, public schools received their lowest academic ratings ever, so Congress rushed back for an emergency session to give schools even more money. The vote was 434 yeas to 1 nay.
I don't believe the war on drugs is winnable whatsoever. They've been fighting this for years, spending, hundreds of billions of dollars, infringing our liberties, our privacy, and what has it brought us? Not one step closer.
I was out on the streets. I lived in the drug culture. I was very successful in buying drugs from criminals or drug dealers. And if there's anything I learned is that these people are just like you and me. They're good people. They've got some habits that need addressing.
The government will never win the war on drugs, primarily because they don't want to.
Even if we did want to stop all drug use, I don't believe it can be possibly done.
The war on drugs serves as an excuse for unbelievable amounts of coercion, theft, murder, and control. And since control is their primary purpose in life, they have no interest in winning the war, because that would mean the end of it, and they would lose all of their advantage.
Sergeant Dan Banning, tribute to a fallen hero. Daniel Dan Banning was born just after the turbulent 60s to a middle-class family in the sleepy suburb of Oak Park, Illinois. He once said, "My only regret was not being born sooner. Man, I would love to bash some hippie heads for the mayor of Chicago." Even as a child, he loved rules and regulations. He became school bathroom monitor at 10 and reported keggers to authorities in high school. He booted his crying mother's car after his police academy graduation, telling her, "I love you, but I'll enforce any law they write." She died shortly after. Dan Banning is survived by a half-brother, Baniel Ban Banning. The two used to fight evil together, joyously cracking criminal skulls side by side, until Baniel went rogue, opposing the righteous war on drugs. Dan Banning never married, saying, "My job is my life and my wife." He also leaves behind his beloved drug dog Peaches. Sergeant Dan Banning will be mourned by fellow drug warriors nationwide. Dan Banning, he took a bite out of crime until crime took a bite out of him.
Okay, there are definitely differences between a good cop and a bad cop. To me, the old Andy Griffith was the typical good cop. He was a peace officer. Nowadays, too often, we have law enforcement officers who are only concerned with enforcing the law as it is on the books, regardless of what makes sense or any common judgment regarding the situation. Most cops are good. Most cops are my friend. There are a few bad ones.
How do you answer people who say, "Oh, it might make you want to kill your neighbors or do all sorts of bad things"?
Prove it. I haven't seen that yet.
You haven't killed your neighbors yet?
No, I haven't killed the neighbors over marijuana, not at all.
Nah, you just get 75 cents.
Would you like a receipt?
Sure, why not?
Ready to play the game?
Sure, of course.
The game today is pick a pull-up. So you pick what card you're going to pull out of the deck. Number or letter?
8.
8?
8.
So yeah, we're going for a free gram of hash. Pop special hash.
I'll take the top one.
Whew. Oh, don't worry, we're not even close.
I need work. Alright, appreciate it.
Enjoy. See you later.
Soon.
I don't see this causing a problem. It's actually helping the whole economy. And if we actually industrialized hemp, we could actually maybe save the planet.
When you allow one right to be taken away, then the others just follow naturally like a bunch of dominoes falling down. Once they see that right being taken away, let's say the right to smoke, then pretty soon it's smoking pot or owning firearms or having any other pleasure in your life. Any one thing leads to the next one, going down the tubes.
All laws that prohibit peaceful behavior are illegitimate and stupid.
At the end of 2010, medical marijuana is legal in 15 states and the District of Columbia. Yet pot is still illegal at the federal level. Medical marijuana dispensaries were routinely raided and closed by feds with guns drawn through much of George Bush's administration and well into Obama's first year. At this moment, jackbooted thugs have stopped raiding the marijuana health centers, apparently respecting the state's rights under the 10th Amendment. Yet the feds are trampling attempts by states within the 10th Amendment with regards to guns. Alaska, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Arizona, Tennessee, and South Dakota have passed Firearms Freedom Acts, which declare the right to manufacture firearms and ammunition for use and sale only within that particular state without federal interference or regulation. The Wyoming law even allows for the arrest and prosecution of federal agents violating that law. In response to this legislation, the feds have sent warnings to gun sellers in these states, threatening their licenses to sell in other states, in essence threatening their very livelihoods. The feds refuse to recognize the states' rights to pass these laws, claiming the Commerce Clause in the Constitution prohibits this. This is a gross misappropriation of the intent of the Commerce Clause, which was intended to encourage commerce between the states, not give the feds ultimate control over all commerce. 17 other states have introduced firearms freedom legislation. Many U.S. states recognize concealed carry weapons permits from other states, but only 3 states, Montana, Michigan, and Rhode Island, recognize medical marijuana permits from other states. So if a patient drives from Colorado to Montana, she would not legally be permitted to possess her medicine while passing through Wyoming. If she travels a lot for business, she'd either have to go without medical marijuana for extended periods of time, or put herself in constant risk by attempting to take her medicine with her. In Alaska, Arizona, and Vermont, a permit is not required to carry a concealed gun. In Wyoming, Colorado, Arizona, Montana, and 33 other states, concealed carry gun permits are shall issue. Any mentally sound, non-felon adult can get one, yet a small amount of marijuana is a serious crime in some of these states, and most have no provision for medical marijuana, even if you're dying a painful death of cancer. These government permission slips for guns and pot also cost money. This randomly applied tax violates several sections of the Constitution. A concealed carry permit is nearly impossible to get in Los Angeles or San Francisco, unless you're a judge or a movie star. Yet there, medical marijuana cards are practically shall issue. Just about any adult who wants one can get one, but possession of a gun in public without a permit is a serious felony. You can walk around Wyoming with a loaded gun on your hip without a permit, but they'll throw you in prison for a year or more for a few grams of pot. In California, possession of a small amount of pot is a misdemeanor, or even the equivalent of a simple traffic ticket. In November 2010, a ballot initiative to legalize all pot possession for personal use failed in California. The vote was 53.9% against. Before the vote, Los Angeles County Sheriff Lee Baca said he'd continue to bust people for marijuana possession, even if pot had become legal at the state level. Obama-appointed Attorney General Eric Holder had the same plan, acting under pressure from the President of Mexico.
Cartouche for tampon.
But if you walk around San Francisco or Los Angeles with a gun on your hip, you'd likely end up with cops or even SWAT throwing you to the ground, putting a gun to your head, and taking you to prison. These issues are further confused by the fact that private firearm ownership is legal nationwide. The right to keep and bear arms is clearly protected by the Second Amendment. While we believe that freedom of ingestion is a basic human right, at this time it is not clearly stated in the law. The overreach of the feds is invasive, harmful, and applied in a seemingly random way. The capriciousness of various states in allowing or denying firearm freedoms is confusing and puts good folks at risk. Furthermore, none of this protects anyone from anything and only ruins the lives of honest people. The feds seem to resent the Constitution, feel it gets in their way. Their continued failure to recognize individual freedoms will turn our country into a bleak and unlivable police state. And all states need to recognize their citizens' natural rights if America is to keep from sliding into a totalitarian hell.